Hundreds of refugees living for months on the pavements outside the Central Methodist Church in Cape Town have been moved. Today was D-Day for the refugees to move, and the City of Cape Town enforced a court removal order. This after several warnings for them to pack their bags and leave the area. We understand that the refugees have now moved on to occupy the premises of St Mary's Catholic Church in the Parliamentary Precinct, and that another standoff with police is taking place. For more on this issue, we're joined on the line by City of Cape Town's J.P. Smith. Mr. Smith, can you tell us what the situation is at the moment at St Mary's Church?
Yes, ma'am. A small number of the refugees went there, and after the one mass inserted themselves in the church before the other mass could start, the church has laid a trespassing complaint with the police, and the South African Police and the city's enforcement services will act imminently on that complaint.
So what will happen to those refugees once police have acted? Are they expected to be arrested or merely to be moved on?
Well, they are now in contempt of court. So the ones of this morning who were at Greenmarket Square and who were moved on, they still complied with the court order. There was no violent confrontation. There was some verbal fisticuffs and disagreement, but no physical conflict. And so there was no contempt of court this morning. However, this group that have now attempted to occupy St Mary's, they are now in breach of the court order and may well now be facing more severe consequences. They are now in contempt of court, and the court will then likely have to decide what to do with them. But for the rest of it, the operation this morning went smoothly. And I do want to thank SAPS and the other agencies who assisted and who made it possible this morning to conduct what is a very sensitive operation without any injuries.
Now, can you tell us if this small group has only moved to St Mary's, where the majority of the rest of the refugees have relocated to, and whether they will be monitored?
So the court did not require the city to supply any emergency or alternative accommodation, and no other sphere of government agreed to undertake any form of accommodation. So at this stage, it is so that they've had 10 days since the court ruling to make alternative arrangements, and we have encouraged people to return to the addresses where they were living in Cape Town prior to occupying the Waldorf Arcade, which is what started this whole issue from where they were evicted by the property owner there. And we've made available resources to assist with that reintegration. But accommodation is not an option for a whole variety of reasons, including which is that there's simply no legal mechanism. It's unlike 2008, you don't actually have the opportunity of activating the Disaster Management Act, which is how all of that was paid for, and that cost the city about 240 million rand.
So as you have explained, this is a sensitive situation. It has been dragging on for a number of months, and the issue has been referred to various sectors of government. However, no one, as you have mentioned, has taken charge of providing these refugees with alternative accommodation. Given the fact that months have passed and the likelihood of their prior accommodation no longer being available to them, where are these refugees supposed to go? I know that's a difficult question, but the likelihood is that they may end up on the doorstep of yet another church.
So, that would be the choice of another church to supply them sanctuary. That's anybody's choice, is to help another human being when they perceive them to be in need. But the requirements on the state were very specific, and for very specific reasons, because in Cape Town alone, we're sitting with more than 160,000 refugees, apparently. And if this particular group was offered accommodation in that manner, then there's no reason for the remainder to stand up and say, well, we reasonably then expect the same outcome. That would be a completely financially untenable situation, aside from the fact that you have hundreds of thousands of South Africans on waiting lists in this country for housing. I think that would create a powder keg of xenophobic conflict and would initiate the very thing we're all seeking to avoid. So it's simply not tenable or advisable. Many South Africans are in hard times daily, struggling to get by. The state is not in a position, whether at national, provincial or local level, to entirely resolve their welfare issues. We are not able to do so for the refugees and asylum seekers either. And if it had to be done, it would need to be done by the Department of Home Affairs. That would be their constitutional mandate.
Thank you very much. That was the City of Cape Town's JP Smith. We will endeavour to get you more information from St Mary's Church in the Parliamentary Precinct this afternoon as that situation continues to develop.